Hello again, everybody. I am Louise Eddington, the Cosmic Owl and Wisdom Weaver from Cosmic Owl Astrology, here today to talk to you about Mars' journey through the sign of Taurus. I'm not going to share charts this time. I'm just going to talk to you about what it's about. I'm wearing my red though because it's Mars. And Mars moved into the sign of Taurus late yesterday. Stay around to the end, by the way, because I have a card that I pulled for this journey that feels just awesome. Anyway, Mars moved into the sign of Taurus last night. Now, Mars has been zipping through Aries, their own sign. Mars loves being in Aries. It's action, it's go, it's speed. But things have been a little bit like, oh my God, so moving so fast. Mars, despite the traditional belief that Mars is in detriment in Taurus, I think this is a welcome slowing down. Mars in Taurus is about slowing down to smell the coffee, about being more sure and deliberate, especially if you are rooted. And my word for the year is rerouted because I just felt that this, and I've been talking about it all year so far, about getting very rooted in core values. And if you have been getting in touch with what you really want to create from the heart, what you want to manifest, what you want to make real, then Mars in Taurus is going to be very helpful. Now, Mars moved into Taurus last night, and tomorrow morning, as I record this on January the 10th, Mars and Pluto are going to square off. So Mars in Taurus, Pluto in Aquarius, and the Leo moon activated that square before the square's exact. And Haumea is also in Scorpio. So this is a fixed ground cross, and fixed signs do change more slowly. And if they are held back and contained, not by choice often, or if they're triggered or activated by something, they can act like a bull in a china shop. Well, Mars in Taurus can. And I shared a story this morning of in Oregon at a rodeo, a bull got loose and charged at people in the parking lot. 4 people were hurt, but apparently not seriously. Apparently, some of the injuries were trying to run away from the bull and kept falling over and tripping and things. So all's good that ends well. It was over very quickly. But with Taurus being the sign of the bull, you cannot make this stuff up. And this Mars-Pluto square is hugely driven, hugely transformative, brings you a great surge of energy to push, to transform and step into your power and build what you're creating and transform what you're transforming. But if you've not been doing the work, it might explode a little bit. So other stories today, as this square approached, people were driving really weirdly, and I did have a Mars square Pluto moment myself. I have the aspect natally of just dire frustration when I got stuck behind this really slow moving truck and I could not get past him and I was late for the thing I was going to. But luckily, that's the awareness of the astrology. I knew, I was like, oh, there's that Mars Pluto frustration and the Mars in Taurus frustration. But I think once we get past the Mars Pluto square, which, yes, people could erupt, bulls could escape from pens, things like that, or you can lean in and push it to get things done. But once we're past that square, we'll move on to a lot of other aspects. Now, Mars is in Taurus until July the 20th. Happens to be one of my brother's birthdays. So I'm not going to forget that date, right? So I'm just going to quickly talk about Mars' journey through it. So it starts at 9:21 Eastern on the 11th with that exact square between Mars and Pluto. As soon as that starts separating, you can kind of use the push of empowerment that Pluto tends to give to really start digging in and creating what you want to create. It's kind of funny also, I just had a call about something that's really going to help me build the things I want to build. So anyway, less about me. There's no further real major Mars aspects until June the 21st, after the solstice. Mars will then trine Centaur Pholus in Capricorn. That's the take the lid off Centaur, the Pandora's box Centaur, and that's at 8 degrees, but it's a supportive aspect, an earthly one. And that's kind of just going to reveal more things that you need to kind of shift and change and make real. Then also on June the 21st, Mercury, having zipped through the sign of Gemini, now in Cancer, Mercury and Mars will sextile, making a sextile from Cancer, the sign of security and stability and protection, but also self-care and self-love, to Taurus, a lovely water earth sextile that says mind and action in alignment to create what you are creating. So I think this Mars through the sign of Taurus journey is going to be absolutely fabulous. Then we hop, skip and jump until June the 30th, when Mars will trine Ceres in Capricorn. Ceres is retrograde in Capricorn. She's been reflecting and looking on our needs, unmet or unmet, in the structures of our society and our lives. And this, again, because it's a supportive aspect, will help you to make the changes to go, oh, yes, I'm on target. I've been listening to the messages. I'm now feeling much more supported in these structures that I'm creating. Then on July the 2nd, see how fast we're going through. Mars will square off to the Wisdom Weaver, Cosmic Doula and Cosmic Midwife, whatever you want to call her, Grace Spinner, Chiron's wife, Chariklo in Aquarius, who has been holding space for us to weave this new story of ourselves and the future. And so this square will take action to actually really put the pieces of this new story into place, or to actually weave the new story. Then we move on from there and we get to July the 5th. Mars will make another supportive aspect. In fact, let's look at July the 5th and 6th together. Mars in Taurus will make a supportive sextile aspect to Saturn and Nessus in the sign of Pisces. And this is just as Saturn is approaching a conjunction with Nessus. Nessus is the revealer of generational abuse patterns, trauma, memories. In Pisces, there's been a lot coming out of the shadows about how, like, acknowledgement of trauma and healing and letting go and releasing of it as well. Saturn tends to bring an ending to things, especially when it's in this supportive kind of aspect. Mars in Taurus is very embodied and very in its body, in its senses, taking action from this rooted place. This will bring an end to more things, more patterns, more, perhaps more triggers, patterns, responses, making things less likely that you would fall into freeze, flight, and all that kind of stuff. However, I will say that this is a process, so don't, magically expect one aspect to get rid of it all. But then Mars finishes the journey through the sign of Taurus with the big aspect. You are like, wasn't the Mars-Pluto square the big aspect? Well, both are. But we're almost past that one. But on July the 15th at 10:04 a.m. Eastern, Mars and Uranus will meet exactly at 26 degrees of Taurus. Now we're in an 8-year, and this is 2 plus 6, which are two very creative yin numbers, making an 8, which is a number of stability. So we are building stability overall this year. So we have a 2 plus 6 is 8 in an 8-year. And this Mars Uranus thing, yes, there perhaps could be some warnings about being a little bit more focused and mindful when doing exercise or driving or around knives or something, because this can bring a sense of sudden change and rashness. But also, this is big breakthrough energy. Don't you feel like it's just been breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough lately? And this is another big breakthrough aspect. This is kind of the genius zone. This is those big ahas. This is a sudden shift and change and going, oh, this is what it is. This is the track I'm going to be on. Uranus really is quite overall a benevolent energy. I feel like he comes in and zaps you with electricity a little bit like a storm, but he comes in and he kind of slaps you awake and goes, oh, look, this is what you're doing. And Mars conjunct Uranus is a big drive to make some radical changes. On the shadow of it, I guess, but in Taurus, it's so embodied and rooted. But in the shadow of it, it could bring some action in the market, some volatility. Uranus tends to be an expect the unexpected. Expect the unexpected. Yes, that's the right word. Kind of aspect. But after Mars meets Uranus, that's kind of it. Yeah, Mars in Uranus that's July the 15th. Do we have Mars sextiling Venus? Did I miss one? Let me just check. But I've got a card to show you in a minute. This is going to be a good one. Oh yeah, on June the 29th, Venus and Mars also do a nice dance at 14 degrees of Cancer and Taurus. I'm going to probably write a lot about that when it comes to my blog, because the Venus star point that we had on June the 4th at 14 Gemini, which was conjunct the north node of Uranus again, it is exactly, the new Venus star point is exactly at the midpoint of this Mars Venus cosmic lovers speaking to each other aspect. This, I know I keep saying it, and I know it doesn't always seem like it because of the way the world's going with, far right being voted in European Parliament and the rise of the far right generally. But I really do think this is coming to the surface and getting to the most radical extreme so that people just go, oh, no, we don't want this, and kind of shift direction. And I really do think we're going to shift direction. So let's go to the card. I think this is going to be a lovely transit. So then Mars leaves the sign of Taurus and enters the sign of Gemini on July the 20th. After there's one last aspect before that on July the 20th itself, before Mars moves in, and that is a lovely sextile to Neptune, and that's at the anaretic or liminal last degrees of Taurus and Pisces, earth and water, sculpting, making real, manifesting what you want with a combination of feeling and intuition and physicality and matter, or wave and particle, whatever you want to say, before we move into some new energy. Mars will move into Gemini. Neptune's retrograde at that point, doesn't move in yet, but in the big scheme of things, Neptune is moving out of Pisces next year. All right, so do you want to see what card I pulled for this? What I think is going to be quite a lovely transit. Now, don't come back to me and go, you said it was going to be lovely if there are some unpleasant shocks. There might be. There might be an unpleasant surprise or two, but often those unpleasant or unwelcome shifts and changes are things that bring us the impetus to create what we want and to be the change we want to be. And they often end up for the right thing. I think of the time my husband came home from work in the UK when our children were little and said he'd been laid off from his work. Well, it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to us, but we had to mourn for a couple of days first. But anyway, Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius, which is all rainbows and humanitarianism and equality and the rainbow, colors of the rainbow, all those kind of things. Well, look at this. 10 of Cups from the Light Seers Tarot. Look at this card. This is saying you live in a state of oneness by bringing harmony and love to your relationships. This card means community, love, harmony in relationships and family, divine connections, heart opening and expansion, and wholeness. Now I'm going to read from the card for a change. This card has the powerful energy of connected hearts, giant love, and devoted acceptance, often seen as the one big happy family card. It's a giant yes for relationships and love, and it predicts a fairy tale ending. Well, maybe not a fairy tale, but And hey, you get to decide what this soulmates and unicorns ending looks like. Allow your heart's expansive energy to pour into all of your connections, including those with your community. So that's this card. Okay, this is just your dreams, what your heart desires. You can create it, this card says. And this was the card for the journey of the unicorn energy, particularly for the Mars-Uranus conjunction, I think. But Mars through Taurus itself is a little bit unicorny because Mars acts very differently in the sign of Taurus and is going, slow down, smell the coffee, look at the beautiful world around you, smell the flowers. My husband just picked flowers. They're in the kitchen now. He picked flowers from the garden, brought them in and brought them into me in a vase or a vase. Anyway, it's that kind of energy. So from now, June 9th, it was last night, till July the 20th, Mars is through that sign of Taurus. Make sure you are feeling into your senses, your sensual self, your bodily self. Things might let it get a little bit more kind of raucous between the sheets as well with this, but that's up to you. Till next time, don't forget to subscribe, leave me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, share the videos if you like it. I appreciate every one of you that has subscribed and leaves me thumbs up and comments. See you later.